Peace, everyone. My name is staHHr. That's staHHr. Those two H's are for hip hop, aka Mother Nature with a Molotov. I grew up listening to it, but not really having any grasp on the culture because I wasn't around anybody who was actually an MC or anything like that. When I first heard Slick Rick's, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick, his album at like a basement house party in Chicago one summer, that it just was like, wow, man, that's amazing. And MC Lyte, her Paper Thin video, and then Redman, the Tribe Called Quest. So I think those four, like seeing them and then just that feeling, I'm like, well, you know, they all represented something different. Like I was like, well, I'm not from a place where people rap, so I never thought about rapping. But when I saw those different, especially with De La and Tribe, they were like, oh, they're from the suburbs. And they're kind of like, you know, cool little hippie type, you know, afros. I'm like, I can rock with that. I just felt I had a place because before I just didn't identify, you know, in terms of culture. I was like, well, I wish I could rap. I don't think I can rap because I'm not from there. But Slick Rick's album, that album, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick, and Redman. That Redman's What the album, I was like, yeah, I gotta rhyme. I gotta do this. Yeah. Getting in trouble for watching LL Cool J's I'm Bad video. Because he wasn't wearing an athletic supporter, my mother said. He's not wearing a jog strap. That's X-rated. You shouldn't be watching it. And I didn't know, because I didn't know. Like, what is she talking about? But as an adult, I'm like, oh. I freestyled a lot more when I first started rhyming. So I would save anything written. Like I would never want to be in a cipher or never want to rhyme with anything that I had written. So I was just like I got really good at freestyling, like the spontaneous on the spot. That was my thing. And I just did that more and more and more and around more people. And the more people I did it around, the better I got. It was well received. So that just kind of put the battery in my back. I always wrote because I was a writer. Like I wrote, you know, creative writing and poetry. But in terms of really like sitting down and like writing rhymes on a daily basis, I didn't do that till about a year, maybe 2 years into me rhyming. I freestyled almost exclusively when I first started. They're supportive. They just want me to be able to like make money off of it. Hint, hint. They're like, we love that you're great, but can you make a living off of it? But they're supportive. I mean, my parents, my family, they've always been really supportive. And they're like, that's your dream. You know, don't give up on your dream, but just don't also have like a plan B as well. Staying relevant even when I don't have an album out. I have successfully maintained some presence over like a 15, 16 year span of either like doing features with people, you know, being interviewed, being in magazines, you know, whatever, being on panels or, you know, speaking on a collegiate level. I've just always stayed in the mix, so to speak. Like not necessarily like everywhere, but every year I'm on projects that come out, you know, with other people. So that has helped a lot. You know, because the culture is everything, and if it's not preserved, if it's not passed down, if it's not shared, then it'll get lost. History will get rewritten. So, I mean, anytime you take on a culture, it's your duty to research, to study. You know who came before you, know how they did it, know what's expected, know the elements, the protocol. I mean, you're going to put your own spin on anything, but you don't just come into something and not know what you're doing and then just start making up stuff. Really, just out of respect. You know, I respect the house of hip hop. So when I came in, you know, I wiped my feet on a rug. I sat with elders. You know, I did my research. I went back to the time before I really got deep into hip hop and listened to that music. You know, did the knowledge, got the history, and I strive to, you know, impart that in my stage show, you know, in my projects, and just my approach to even the music that I listen to. You know what I mean? If I'm gonna listen to hip hop, it's got to have a certain it's got to have a certain flavor. It's got to have a certain basis. Like I got to know, like no matter what you're doing, even if you're doing like a song that's just on some crazy, just commercial, you did it to make money. If you're a real MC, I'm going to be able to tell underneath it. Being able to use that platform to address certain issues and represent an aspect of femininity and beauty and culture that we don't get to see all the time. Like the fact that I present myself to the world the way that I do, there's a million little girls out there who look like me who will never see someone that looks like them doing what I do. So that's something that gives me like wings to know like, hey, I'm an alternative for somebody, or I'm a something that they can identify with, versus just this is how you have to look, this is how you have to rap. Like I provide that for little girls and women who may never get to rhyme but may have wanted to. You know, like I get to be a voice, you know, for a population that typically doesn't have one in hip hop. Balance, insane lyrics. I had the social commentary. I gave you metaphysics. I gave you pure unadulterated hip hop. It was fun. It was life changing. It was inspirational. And I made those two H's in my name. I went for mine with those. Like nobody will ever be able to say I didn't represent hip hop to the fullest.